Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Lions Nation. What we are about to break down today is not just a roster analysis or a depth chart examination or a free agency update. What we are breaking down today is the organizational blueprint that separates franchises that build sustainable contenders from franchises that spike into a window and then collapse under their own financial weight when the contracts come due simultaneously. Bill Barnwell at ESPN just ranked the Detroit Lions as having the #1 skill position talent group in the entire National Football League. And while that ranking deserves its celebration and its proper appreciation, the deeper story behind how this team arrived at that position is the one that every Lions fan needs to understand completely, because it explains not just where this team is right now, but where it is going for the next 5 years. Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and the entire Lions front office have solved the puzzle that breaks most NFL teams, and they solved it in a way that is simultaneously elegant in its simplicity and genuinely impressive in its execution. Let us start with the ranking itself, because context matters before the analysis begins. Barnwell looked at wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends across the entire league and concluded that the Detroit Lions sit at #1, ahead of the Los Angeles Rams at 2, the Cincinnati Bengals at 3, the Atlanta Falcons at 4, and every other team in professional football. This is the same Lions franchise that was ranked 7th in this same category 2 years ago and 2nd last year, which means the trajectory is not just good, but genuinely remarkable in how consistently and how rapidly it has moved in the right direction. The Rams, with Puka Nacua and Davante Adams and Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, are #2. The Bengals, with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, are #3. The Falcons, with Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, are #4. And the Lions are better than all of them, and it is not particularly close. The collection of names that produce this ranking should feel both familiar and newly appreciated when you lay them out completely. Jahmyr Gibbs is arguably the best running back in professional football right now, and the only team that can make a credible argument for a better back at this specific moment is Atlanta with Bijan Robinson, which is a legitimate counter-argument rather than a dismissal. The comparison between Gibbs and Chase Brown for Cincinnati makes the point clearly: there is no comparison. Brown is a solid complementary back. Gibbs is a generational talent who creates problems in the run game, the passing game, in space, on the perimeter, and in every dimension of what a modern NFL running back is asked to do. When Barnwell evaluates the skill position talent at running back across the entire league and slots Gibbs near the very top, he is confirming what Lions fans who watch every snap have understood for the past 2 years. Amon-Ra St. Brown at wide receiver is the kind of player who gets taken for granted by his own fan base precisely because he is so consistently excellent that his contributions look routine rather than remarkable. Consistency at that level is not routine. It is rare, and it is valuable, and it reflects a work ethic and a football intelligence that produces results week after week, regardless of the defensive scheme being thrown at him. Jameson Williams solidifying his status as one of the league's best #2 wide receivers last year with a career high in production is the development that changes the ceiling calculation for this entire offense. Because a genuine deep threat who can take the top off a defense changes what every other player on the field can do. St. Brown benefits, Gibbs benefits, Laporta benefits, even Jared Goff benefits, because the intermediate routes he excels at become more available when the safety has to account for Williams threatening behind him. Isaac TeSlaa coming back gives the Lions a young and developing receiver who showed enough during his opportunities last year to suggest his ceiling is genuine rather than theoretical. Sam Laporta, returning from the herniated disc situation, remains a top 5 tight end talent when healthy and operating within the offense the way his skill set is designed to be deployed. The depth behind the starters is better than most teams' starting skill positions, which is the kind of organizational achievement that only happens when a general manager drafts at an elite level over multiple consecutive years. And that brings us to the real story, the organizational blueprint that makes all of this possible and sustainable rather than a temporary peak that collapses when the contracts come due. Brad Holmes drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown. He drafted Jamison Williams. He drafted Sam Laporta. He drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. 4 of the most important skill position players on this roster were identified, evaluated, selected, and developed through the draft process rather than acquired through free agency at premium cost. That is not a coincidence. That is the product of a general manager who trusts his evaluation board, who is willing to make picks that deviate from consensus opinion when his process points in a different direction, and who has built a scouting infrastructure capable of identifying the specific players who fit what Dan Campbell's offense demands. The puzzle that the Lions solved, and the reason this organizational achievement deserves so much more attention than it typically receives in national media coverage, is the fundamental resource allocation problem that breaks most NFL franchises. You cannot pay everyone at the same time. The salary cap is finite, the positions that produce wins are expensive, and the teams that figure out how to cycle their expensive commitments through the roster rather than accumulating them simultaneously are the teams that build sustained contenders rather than brief windows. When Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes arrived in Detroit, the first thing they did was draft Penei Sewell, and then they built an offensive line that was expensive and experienced on top of that foundation. Taylor Decker on the left, Frank Ragnow at center, Sewell on the right, with significant money going toward that group as the anchoring investment in the offensive identity. During that period, the skill positions were relatively affordable because the players producing at those spots were still on rookie contracts. Jared Goff was making less, Gibbs was on a rookie deal, St. Brown was on his rookie contract. The investment was concentrated on the line, and the youth at skill positions allowed for that concentration. The transition happened, as transitions in the NFL always do, faster than anyone planned. Taylor Decker's shoulder became a problem. Frank Ragnow retired. 2 expensive and experienced linemen were suddenly gone from the equation at the same moment, which forced an accelerated pivot that the Lions executed with genuine organizational creativity. They found a center replacement. They got off Decker's $20+ million annual contract and replaced him with a rookie at a fraction of the cost. They leaned into the young linemen they had been developing, Tate Ratledge and Blake Miller and Christian Mahogany, and accepted that the offensive line is now the place where youth and cost control live, while the skill positions are where the expensive established players operate. The beauty of this structural flip is visible in the contract timelines. Tate Ratledge has 3 more years of affordable rookie-scale payments before any expensive commitment is required. Blake Miller has 5 years. Christian Mahogany has multiple cost-controlled years remaining. These are not holes in the roster. These are investments in the organizational principle that keeps the skill position talent assembled and functional rather than forcing impossible choices between players who all need to be paid simultaneously. Penei Sewell is the elder statesman of this offensive line, which is a sentence that reflects how dramatically the age profile has shifted. When your most experienced lineman is 25 years old and your most expensive linemen are the receivers and running backs, you have made the fundamental organizational choice that determines whether you can keep this team together through multiple championship windows. The defensive side of the ball is where the same principle is beginning to apply, and understanding the pattern on offense helps predict how the Lions will navigate the upcoming commitments on defense. Aiden Hutchinson's contract money is coming. Aleem McNeil on the interior is in that conversation. Jack Campbell at linebacker. Carlton Joseph and DJ Reed in the secondary are already paid. The money is beginning to spread across the defensive roster in a way that mirrors how it was distributed on offense before the flip, and the front office is presumably already planning for the next rotation, identifying which young defensive players on affordable contracts can take on larger roles when the expensive veterans need to cycle out. The Gibbs and Laporta extension conversations are the immediate decision points that will tell you how confident the Lions are that the young offensive line can sustain this offense during the window when those contracts come due. If Blake Miller and Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany prove they can protect Jared Goff at a functional level throughout this season, the mathematical case for extending Gibbs and Laporta becomes straightforward. Pay the players who produce the most per touch. Lock in the talent that is irreplaceable or expensive to replace on the open market. And trust the draft process to keep replenishing the positions where cost control is most achievable. This is what sustainable organizational excellence looks like in the modern NFL. Not a single super team moment built on years of draft capital accumulated through losing and then spent all at once. Not a free agency spending spree that creates a brief competitive window followed by years of cap purgatory. But a continuous rolling cycle where the expensive positions and the affordable positions rotate, where draft quality keeps producing the players who fill the affordable tier, and where the front office stays perpetually one step ahead of the moment when all the bills come due at the same time. Bill Barnwell ranking the Lions first in skill position talent is the external validation. The internal story of how they got there and why it is sustainable is the real achievement that should make Lions fans genuinely excited, not just about 2026, but about 2027 and 2028 and the years beyond. Drop your Jahmyr Gibbs Offensive Player of the Year prediction in the comments right now. Tell us whether you think the young offensive line is going to be the key variable that determines how far this team goes in 2026, and let us know which young Lion you think is most likely to emerge as the next player Brad Holmes developed into a star that nobody else saw coming. Smash that like button, subscribe if you have not already, and we will see you for the next one. Lions Nation, let us go.